welcome to another episode of the Convoluted Podcast. As always, you can find us on Google Play, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and one of the days I'll get around to trying to get on iTunes. iTunes been being a bug to me, but let's forget about that. And I always forget, but you can always catch us on YouTube as well. It's been a hit or miss with that. But today, we have a special guest. Introduce yourself and tell us about yourself a little bit.
Hi, my name's Steven Domingues. I have a podcast of my own. I have a couple podcasts of my own. I do the Science Faction podcast. We talk about science and science fiction. I'm also on the Save Point podcast with good old Tyrant Dominus here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm one of the co-owners of the BS Podcast Network. And we've got something like, 18 shows, I think, on there now. One for every day of the week, or actually more for every day of the week. So
wow.
a little bit of something for everybody on there. If you want sports, we got sports. You want movies, we got movies. People chatting, people being serious, politics, news, all that stuff. We've got a little bit of something for everybody. So come check us out.
Nice. He is a busy man, and a man with a lot to say, to be honest. Like he said, he is. We're both hosts on the Save Point podcast. That's how I got to know him. That show has been running for almost a little under 2 months now. Surprisingly,
I think we just recorded episode 8, I want to say.
Yes.
So yeah, it's not bad.
So yeah, like your average person, we met randomly on the internet, and you know how some of those situations can go. But I feel this one worked out.
I 100% agree.
So, let's talk about you.
Okay.
I recently just started listening to your Science Faction podcast,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
Because I always
Science
mix
Faction.
it up. Because there's another, I always mistake it with science. There's a science fiction podcast, and it always confuses me. And
There's even another Science Faction podcast that when we named our show, we looked it up and we saw that there had been another show called Science Faction, but they hadn't posted in like a year, and we're like, oh, okay, so they're probably done or something. So we'll just go ahead and use this name. But they have since started back up, and so we can be difficult to find sometimes because the other one, I think they have like just straight up more episodes or something. So yeah, search for us a bit, you'll find us. You can always go to sciencefactionpodcast.com. All our stuff is there. But yeah, we talk science and science fiction. Are you a fan of those things?
I am. I dip my feet here and there. But yes, the most recent one I was listening to was the one you were talking about, robotics, and let's see here.
That's like every other episode.
I know.
Robotics a lot, yeah.
I know. I was just kind of skimming through first, but then I was like, I have to listen to at least the latest episode. Let's see here. You were at while I'm searching.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about the science faction, how did you and your co-host kind of came up with the idea for the show and kind of make it is what it is?
Well, so my co-host named Devin Kraft, he's a buddy of mine that I met way back in high school, and we had always, well, first of all, we were in a couple of bands together. I played bass. He was a lead guitarist, and we had a lot of fun. And we found that we had mutual love of science fiction, and so we would talk about Star Wars and Star Trek and anything with "star" in the title, pretty much. And then after high school, he went on to become a lawyer. And I went on to become not much of anything. I mean, I went to school, and I didn't go to law school or anything. I went to ITT Tech, right? So I went into a completely different field than he did. He became a lawyer, and then after my my stint with working for a civil engineering firm, actually like 4 or 5 of them, after getting laid off a couple of times, it was a bad time. Now I'm a stay-at-home dad, so. We were chatting one day. At the time I had another podcast. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was called the Pure BS Podcast. And you can still find it. There's still a website, purebspodcast.com. We're still on iTunes. There's something like 160 episodes, and that was me and another buddy of mine. And it was just us just kind of talking nonsense. Do you curse on your podcast? Can I curse? Or do you
Yeah, my
Okay.
podcast is one where anyone's free to say whatever they want, as long as it's not like super extremists.
Okay.
So,
All right. Okay.
yeah.
Good. So the BS let's see, Pure BS podcast. Yeah, it's that's what the BS podcast network came out of. It was actually a buddy of mine named Ben. So Ben and Steven, it was us two. And so in Pure BS, we would just bullshit for an hour and a half, something like that. So on our 12th episode, we had my buddy Devin on. And so the title of that episode is actually called Science Faction because of just the stuff that we talked about on that episode. So that was his first time on a this is like origin stories right here. So that was the first time that Devin had done a podcast. And so afterwards, like a month later, I was like, hey man, we should do a podcast. And he was like, yeah, sure. Like, what should it be about? And I was like, the stuff that we like to talk about, because we'll just like chill and talk about, whatever science fiction movies we'd seen recently, TV shows, books, movies, comics, whatever. But we're also way into science. And so we talk about, oh, did you hear about the new discovery about, this or that, or, whatever. And we would chat about that kind of stuff. So we thought like, well, let's just put those two things together and just do our podcast like that and just straight up split it down the middle. So when people listen to the show, the first half of it, we talk science. The second half, we talk science fiction. And that's how it's always been and forever shall be.
Okay, so that kind of makes a little bit more sense because I didn't really understand how you were. For some reason, I thought you were it was a blend of like the topic and itself being one because it was in a little way, but when hearing you explaining how you guys split up your show that way, it makes more sense from an audience point of view.
Okay, well that's good to hear. That's good feedback. When we first started, we used to title the episodes with a slash, so it would be like Black Hole Discovery / new Star Wars movie or something like that. And
okay.
but then as we continued with that process, it got kind of boring and bland. And so then we just started making up just kind of fun titles instead. And because at that point we'd already done something like, I don't know, 80 episodes or something like that. So like, people get it by now. So let's just kind of play fast and loose with the titles. So usually the titles of the episodes now are something more clickbaity almost. Like it's whatever like the most popular thing we talked about on that episode. It usually has something to do about that. just to get eyes on it.
I get you. I'm somewhat like that. Like I usually steal a line from what we talk about, like the most interesting thing, kind of just that little clip. Actually, this Friday's new episode's coming out, and that has one of the weirdest clickbait titles you can find out there. This episode's not going to come out until probably next week or the week after, so I'll let you know. It's called Chaos, Panic, and Disorder.
Oh,
you'll never look back.
Chaos, Panic, and Disorder. That's cool. If it's on an album in a record store, I'd be like, what is this about? And I want to listen to this.
Get ready. That I had a fun guest on that one, and it was a blast talking to her.
Cool.
But that's for another time. This is your time.
It's all about me.
It's all about you right now. There's a few things I actually want to talk to you about because honestly, I think you and me can talk about almost anything because I think we share similar interests. We have talked before. We talk video games.
Sure, yeah.
We have talked a little bit about movies.
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing that you brought up that I want to talk to you about and get your opinion on and your thoughts before we get like super deep in some other stuff.
Okay, what's that?
So you said that you went to ITT Tech. Actually, I actually went to ITT Tech as well, and it was during yes, but I was going during the whole debacle that was happening.
Oh no. Okay.
Yes. So I was actually working on my bachelor's for cybersecurity just as the whole thing went down.
Okay.
And I was not able to I think it was. I think some of the things were still similar, all the requirements. So I was not able to. I was halfway through my bachelor's at that point,
Hmm.
uh, when everything just went down, and I was not able to get all my credits transferred to another school to be able to finish my thing. So I was never able to finish my bachelor for cybersecurity, and
Oh
it's been
no.
yeah, yes, and it's been really hard to try because okay, first, what were your thoughts hearing the whole situation with ITT?
Well, to tell the truth, because I graduated so long ago, it was just kind of some news titles that came by, and it I mean, it's been so long since I've been associated with that with ITT. I graduated in 2003, I think. So it's been a while. What exactly happened? I don't know. Like to tell you the
Oh, okay.
complete truth, I don't know exactly what happened, except for that all of a sudden there was like schools were shutting down, and then I kept seeing like ads for like if you have loans, you can get your money back and stuff like that. But I never really paid too much attention to it. So what happened? What did happen?
So I'll simplify it for the most part because I can
Yeah.
go like a huge tangent because a lot of people got screwed over and there was everything. But to put it simply, the government were setting new requirements for schooling. So all these profit schools were not able to get government grants anymore. So
Oh.
and since most students were using government grants to take classes and everything, uh, since most of the schools were using government grants, um, they lost. I think if I remember, about 80% of their funding at that point. So they were not able to.
Oh.
So
Okay.
that's the simple point. There was other things, but
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
just.
Okay.
So yeah, that's basically what happened. Is
They
no
lost
money.
their funding. They lost their funding because they weren't qualified anymore.
Yes, and
That's
it was.
it sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. What sucks is, well, ITT was like the head of everything that was happening because
Hmm.
it was the biggest school. There was a bunch of other schools as well, some of the smaller profit schools, but
Yeah.
ITT was the big one, so it was like the one that was everyone was looking at. So,
Oh man, that's ridiculous. But
so
I look back at my time at ITT Tech and I go, could have spent that money a little better.
no,
Like,
I agree with you a little bit.
yeah,
Um, but okay, let me hear your opinion. Like,
yeah,
this is your time. This is your time.
okay. So my opinion on ITT Tech in general was that they tried real hard. They were definitely for profit. Things were expensive. I took out loans. My parents had to take out loans, and in the end, I got an associate's degree. I didn't even stay long enough to get a bachelor's, and it really was like to their merit. You could go in there with zero knowledge of the subject and come out with knowing things, which is fine. Unfortunately, I was a very good student in high school, so the first year that I was there, I pretty much learned nothing. I felt like it was just a big waste of time. But then I was like, well, I mean, but I gotta keep going. And then the second year, I did learn things, and it was good. And they kept saying like, oh yeah, you can't get a job while you're going to school because there's too much going on and in homework. And I got a job. I got a job during my second
Oh
year.
God.
Yeah, because I was going for computer aided drawing and design, and I got a job at a architecture and engineering firm,
Oh,
um,
cool.
part time while I was still going to school. And then after school was done, I was like, all right, I'm ready to go full time. They're like, we don't need you full time, and I went, oh no. And
Damn.
but
Damn. Okay.
but luckily, a really good buddy of mine who went to school there, and we graduated at the same time. But he found a job up in Fresno with a company that I ended up following him up there and got a really good job. And it was a really good company and stayed with them for almost 5 years. And then that's when
Wow.
the economic downturn of the late 2008s, early 2009s happened. And that's the first time I got laid off. So,
Oh,
um,
okay.
but to go back to the school itself, I mean, it was fine. But see, I was at a weird time in my life where like I was done with school. Like my parents had been like, oh yeah, after high school, you're going to go to this junior college. And after that junior college, you're going to go to this 4-year college and you're going to be super successful because you're smart and driven and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, sure. I don't really like that idea. Like I wanted to get out there and into the workforce. Like I wanted to do something. I was done with school. And I think part of that was, and I don't want to sound like I've got a big head and, oh, I'm so smart, but school was boring. There were parts of it where I was just bored to tears. And I was like, what is this? This is like catering to the lowest common denominator. Like this is not for me. And I took AP classes and honor classes and stuff. So I think I just wasn't challenged to the level that I could have been challenged. So in the end, I kind of went dark on the whole thing. Was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like school is not for me. And at that point in my life, if I had attempted to go to a 4-year school or to go to a junior college with the thoughts of transferring to a 4-year school, I think I would have flunked out because I just didn't want to do it anymore. I did not want to do it anymore. I was so sick of school that I think I would have utterly failed. So for the people who have those thoughts or feelings or those people that are like, a big 4-year school just isn't for me right now, but yet they have to keep schooling. There's nothing wrong with going to a trade school, which is essentially what ITT Tech was. And that's fine. You learn a trade, you get out there, you get a job, you start working. That's exactly what I did. I had vast amount of disposable income. At least it felt like it was vast at the time. I had a nice little savings account going. My girlfriend and I lived together in Fresno. She's now my wife, mother of my 2 children. So like we had that going for us. And so all was well. I don't think it was like I don't regret it at all, but like kind of looking back, if I had, knowledge of the future, I probably would have said like, you know what, I'm going to take a year off and work a retail job or something. And then, after some time has passed and things have cooled down, then I'll go to the JC and then to a 4-year or something like that.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. Well, that's weird. So to tell you a little bit what happened with me a little bit.
Yeah.
So I actually after school I took just shy of a year off, just kind of to do my own thing, try to figure out what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
To give you a little context, I have said this on the podcast before. So I moved out here to Oregon just as my junior year was starting, and it kind of threw a lot of my plans out of the way because I'm originally from Chicago, and I had a lot of plans already set when I was going to that high school over there. So when I was like forced to move literally cross country and enter a new school and try to situate myself, I was just lost, and I kind of gave up that feeling of just trying to do something. So I was one of those people that were just floating around, just trying to get past now at that point.
Right.
So when I graduated, I wanted to try to do something. So for the first year, like I was just doing nothing, just messing around, until I got yelled at to get a job. So I actually did. So I did get a job finally. I was working retail. So like I'm like the reverse you, because so I worked retail for a while and was just getting myself situated with all that, and I was doing really well with that. But then I kept telling myself, I gotta, and my family was telling me, you should go to school and try to do something better for yourself, like parents should do to help push their kids. And yeah, you're right. I should try to do something. So I didn't really go. I was looking at schools, but nothing was really like piquing my interest at that moment. So I just studied small trades on my own, just little things. Nothing that I use now, sadly, but. I spent like 4 years working until I finally decided to actually go to school. This was around the time where I was like working graveyard, and that's when I realized like I got to really do something. And mostly because this was the time where my father kind of sat me down and told me that
Mhm.
I really needed to do something with my life, because I was honestly walking in my father's footsteps. I was working the same job he is doing. He's been doing the same job. He's been working graveyard since I've been born.
Oh,
So
jeez.
and I appreciate for everything he's ever done. He's worked his butt off, and I'm more than happy to help him whenever he needs. But
Mhm.
he's right. I literally was walking in his footsteps. I ended up working graveyard in this, not the same store, but in the same company. And that's when he told me, he wants better for me. So I decided to find a school, and I spent, I don't remember what year, but I spent that summer actually looking at schools and actually going to, do the whole visit stuff and
Yeah, yeah,
trying
yeah.
to expand and see what I want to do. Because at that point, I had a lot of things. One of the few skills I did enjoy doing, I was good at while I was still in high school, was computers. While I was at school, I got 2 associates, one in systems administration and one in software development.
Wow.
Um,
Cool.
I did get some skills, but right now those just having that associates under the name of ITT is kind of one of those things that companies kind of look at differently, kind of like the dark child a little bit.
Oh man, that
It,
sucks. Because
yes,
like
it's
you have the knowledge, you did the school. It's not like the school was a fake school or something and they were just printing out diplomas. Like you still had to do work. Maybe it was overcosted work, but you still had to do it and pass tests and stuff. So
yeah, I know that's the
bummer.
thing. It sucks mostly when I'm trying to find work. Because I'm still working graveyard. Like what's funny is that what you said is like how ITT told you like you're not gonna be able to do your job and go to school and all this. I was working graveyard and going to school, and I actually had a second job at that time at the moment. So I was working 2 jobs, going to school full time, all that. So I'm like, I don't know what they were
Wow.
saying. Like I was like working my ass off, and I did that. I did that. I went to school for 3.5 years straight. I did not take a single break, so I did not take no summer or whatever. I
Right,
wanted to get
right.
it over with, so I went straight. So, and just in a way, just like you, I could say that there is something inside me that would say like I could have used those 3 years to do something better.
Yeah.
But
It's the
there are
hindsight,
some.
right?
Yes, yeah. There are a few things that I did gain from going to school there. So there are positives and negatives of what happened. So, but yeah, it's like listening to your experience and kind of just dwelling back on my own. We have somewhat similar and yet opposite ways that our just our experience have been. So that's what's funny, and I'm glad that just that little spark, just that little tidbit when I heard earlier, just kind of sparked this conversation.
What can I ask you what kind of retail job you worked?
I'm still working it. I'm still looking
Oh,
for I'm still looking
okay.
for a job. No,
Okay.
I just work at a regular retail grocery store.
Okay.
So
My
I'm the
Go
gopher.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm the guy that makes sure there's food in the store, so there you guys can buy it.
My dad worked at a grocery store for his whole life till he retired. So I understand the grocery store life.
There you go. So
I
you
get
see,
that. Yeah.
so there,
Yeah.
yeah, it's weird. That it's funny that we have some similar. That's funny,
That is
but
funny.
it's
Yeah.
but no, yeah, that's kind of it really. I'm sorry, I'm still looking for a job. Not just in my field. I'm just trying to now change my career slash job. I want something different. I've been working for the grocery business for almost 9 years now. So
Wow.
it's
Yeah.
yeah.
It's easy to get sucked in, man. Like
It's
when I was working a retail job, I worked at a video store. I worked at Hollywood Video, and
ooh.
they don't exist anymore, but that was like the high school job that then turned into the job while I was still going to ITT. And it was kind of a bummer to leave. Like it's like comforting. I don't know, like it's comforting because you get this little family around you. Like you work with the same people and you have the same hatred of the customers together. because customers are awful, terrible things that interrupt your work, that you're trying to do. And so you got like this tight knit little like dysfunctional family almost, and it's hard to leave that. It's very comforting.
No, that's exactly how it is for me as well. It's we're the night crew we have is literally just 4 people, and it's the 4 people we see five days a week for 40 hours a week. So it's like sometimes we see each other more than our regular family sometimes, and it's your second family at that point. And yes, you have so much in common, and that's what it is. It's hard to leave. On top of that, at the moment, I am maxed out on my pay, so finding a job that can like cover my living expenses and all my debt that's hard. That's the hard part, and you understand that, mostly with the cost of living at the moment.
Oh, it's nuts. It's crazy. Like I'm a stay-at-home dad now, but when it came time to make that choice, my wife and I sat down before we decided to have a kid, and we're like, okay, we have a kid, like how are we going to do this? Because we both wanted to have one parent home with the children. Like we understood how difficult that decision would be, and but how advantageous it is for the kids to have a stable home environment, to have a parent at home. And it's something that doesn't happen very often anymore, just because cost of living, just to live, is super expensive. Like it was something to sit down and figure out.
Actually, the thought of just sitting down and thinking, we're gonna have a kid, mine is like, oops, we had a kid.
Yeah.
And so honestly, you guys are more than at that point.
I mean, before we started trying, it was like, we've been going at this since high school, and it's kind of amazing that we haven't had an accident. Like, I hope everything's okay. I mean, there were so many close calls that we were like, oh well. But so it was kind of amazing that we made it that far anyway. But anyway, so we sat down, we tried to figure out. We're like, okay, let's just like go by the numbers. Like, which one of us makes more money? And at that point, my wife made a little bit more money than I did. And I was like, okay, so I'll be a stay-at-home dad. And she was like, are you sure that's what you want? And, I took time and I thought about it. And I was like, you know what? I would be 100% A-okay with this. Like, there was just something like, I don't know, a feeling, a vibe, whatever you want to call it, was like, no, you know what? I can do this, and I feel good about doing this. And so, like, all right, well, we'll give it a try. And if it doesn't work, then, I could go back to the job that I was working at, because I wasn't fired. I gave them my 2 weeks notice. I told them what was happening and all that, so I didn't burn any bridges. So it was like, all right, if it doesn't work out, then I can try to go back, and that's fine. The first time I left a job without being laid off, so that was interesting. Not the first time, but and so it was a difficult decision. And for the first 2 years, we were like paycheck to paycheck. And luckily, my wife, her work, like, she absolutely loves it. She works in insurance, and she's like upper management at this point, like upper management. She's got something like 40 or 50 people below her at this point that she manages. And she absolutely loves her company. She loves the work that she does. And so, like, I feel really lucky. Like, it all kind of worked out. I enjoy being a stay-at-home dad. She enjoys working. We've got 2 kids now, 3.5-year-old and a 2-month-old. And we get a lot of praise for our 3-year-old being a well-mannered, well-adjusted little child, even though she's a terror at home. So I think we're doing something right.
Well, if she's the sweet child to the outside world, I think you're doing something right. She can terrorize mom and dad, but to the world,
Mm-hmm. Oh man,
I think
to grandma and grandpa, she's a little princess.
So I think you're doing something right. Oh, and yes, and congratulations on your second child.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Yes, and yeah, that's actually interesting. Because the thought of a stay-at-home parent is something a lot of people don't talk about these days, and
it's not the norm anymore.
No, it is not. It's like I was saying, the cost of living these days is ridiculous. And actually, I've said this in the podcast multiple times. I read an article just a couple months ago, and actually recently, about the state of Oregon. The first article actually mentioned that many adults with your average two children cannot have support themselves on was it not minimum but the medium
A median.
the median of two working parents.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then the second yeah and
Yeah.
the second article actually concerning my state is that an average full-time minimum wage person can no longer get a place to rent here in the state of Oregon. So you can be working full-time minimum wage, but you cannot find a place to rent, and that makes Oregon the 38th state where that is the situation, where you can be working 40 hours a week at minimum wage, and you cannot find a place to live without some jimmying around. And it's like,
you know, that defeats the purpose of a minimum wage. Like, the whole purpose of it is that you have a minimum level with which that you can survive, and it's not doing what it's supposed to do anymore. But I mean, I very recently got into politics, so I don't really know a lot of this stuff. But you can't just raise the minimum wage. There's far-ranging repercussions for that. Like, that's not there. There is no simple solution. Is the point that I'm getting at? So.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a lot. We're not gonna really delve into that. It's just, that's the situation, and it's kind of just a little sad that we're at that point. So
But society's got to change. We got to go back to the close-knit family and friends and helping each other. And like I've been saying, my wife and I, like, we have single income family, but for 3 years, her one of her older sisters came and lived with us, because she actually lived in Oregon, broke up with her girlfriend up there, and came back. And we said, move back down. Like, there's nothing for you up there. You don't have friends. There's no family. Move back here. You can live with us for 8 months, a year, so you can get back on your feet. And it took her 3 years to get back on her feet. And even now, she's renting a studio apartment and is making it like month to month. And she's working it's above minimum wage, but just barely, but it's above minimum wage job. It's just tough, man. It is tough out there.
No, yeah, and it's just I don't know. It's we can talk and speculate so much. Just it's a hard world. It's a hard world right now. All right. Let's kind of change the topic.
Yeah, I feel depressed now.
I'm depressed. Yeah. You know what? There's a little bit. There is something I want to talk about, and we can talk about it with a little change, because everything can change if everything went into a nuclear fallout. Everything. There you go. There you go.
Some days I wake up and I go, is it going to be today? Like, I'm ready to do this.
There is a topic I wanted to talk to you, and we weren't able to in the last podcast, in the Save Point podcast. They've recently announced a little trailer explaining some of the new perks for the new Fallout 76 and how that's going to be working. Were you able to see that one?
Yeah, I watched the panel from QuakeCon that had Todd Howard, our Lord and Savior, and a couple of the other guys from Bethesda. And yeah, man, No, go for it. You know more. You know a little bit more than what I wanted to ask, but go for it. I mean, this is your playground. Yeah. So I mean, I only watched it once. I didn't memorize all the details, but the thing to come away from it, and we can dive into the details that we do remember, but it really seems to me that Bethesda has sat down taken a deep breath and thought, how do we make online work in Fallout? This is not something that they just slapped together to try and make a quick buck. Like, they have thought out the consequences of the things that they're doing. And I mean, they have the benefit of other online games like Rust or Ark, Survival something dinosaur planet. I forget
Something, yeah.
Games where it is what's one I've been playing? Conan, Naked People. So like these games where you get people together and you give them a buildable environment and enemies that they can and it seems like they all cross their fingers and went, they're all going to get along, right? But all it is like griefers and problems, and then the developers trying to like patch over those problems and fix things. But it's the internet. It's people with too much time on their hands, so they find ways around it, and it just turns into a toxic environment. The first time I played Rust, it was amazing. The second time I played Rust, I went, why are there so many swastikas? What is this? What happened to this game? The first time I played this, I was scared of the zombies and like that one bear that would kill you in one hit. And now there's nothing but like swastikas and pepes everywhere. Like, what is going on? And so then you had to like take a step back and go, like, what is the meta behind this game? And there's quite a big one behind Rust. And so when people were saying, oh, the new Fallout, it's a Rust clone. It's a Rust clone. It's not. Like, they have seen what it could be, and they have taken steps and measures to not to prevent it, but I think in the words of Todd Howard, to make the assholes into content.
Hey, that's the toughest enemies out there.
Yeah, like the jerks, the people that are there to make other people's days miserable. And when you have an online game and a heavily story-based online game like Fallout, like the world is so rich in lore. There have always been raiders in a Fallout game. There's always the group of assholes that get together and they want to ruin everyone else's day. It's just that in every other Fallout game, that's been the game itself has been those people. Well, now there's a chance, and this is kind of cool, that people can be those people. And so, like, what kind of limitations do you put on that? What kind of rules do you set upon that? And I think they came up with some pretty good ones. And so to get down into the details, into the nitty gritty.
Do tell.
In Fallout 76, every person that you come across is another player, right? And they're saying something like the servers will have 24 to 36 people, something like that. So not a huge number, and the map is like 4 times the size of Fallout 4. It's a huge map. And so if you only have 25 people on a map that size, unless you're purposefully grouping with them, it would be hard to find people.
So about 6 groups at max, give or take.
Yeah, because they only get groups of 4 is the max so far.
Yeah, so about 6 groups.
Yeah, 6 groups, and so but then you do all the solo players, and that's part of the balance you have to think about, is that Fallout has always been a solo experience. So people that are fans of Fallout, people like me, when we start playing, we're going to naturally start playing as a solo game because that's what it's always been for us. So I imagine the groupings and stuff will be, specialized people that have said, oh, let's all get together when it finally comes out. But for everyone else, it's just going to be this solo experience where they're running into other people. But so here's the cool content. Here's where you turn assholes into content. If somebody kills you, here's the thing. If someone attacks you, the attack is almost like, in the way Todd said, it was like slapping somebody in the face. Like the gunshot or the stab or the punch or whatever is going to cause very little damage. But then it gives you the chance to run away. Like, I do not want to experience this. I'm going to run away. And so that initial attack isn't going to be completely deadly. If you turn back and you fire back, then the game says, okay, you are now deciding to do PvP essentially. And so now all the damage is going to be upped to 100%, whereas before it was like 20% or something.
Oh, kind of like a sneak attack bonus, basically.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like
depending if you're engaging.
Yeah, if you're engaging or not, yeah. So if you are somebody who wants to go out and kill other players, you are going to be labeled a murderer. and everybody on the server is going to be able to see where you are on the map, on the Pip-Boy map. And you are going to get a bounty on your head that is equal to, I think they said it was going to be equal to or a large percentage of your personal caps. So if you are someone who likes to run around and kill other players and get their stuff and, you know, hoard their money and their items, that is now the bounty on your head. So people will be able to see, over here, this guy's a murderer, and this is how much money he's stolen from other players. Do you want to go and take care of this? And so they turned this person who wanted to go around murdering people, who maybe that they thought it was funny, or maybe it's someone who's role-playing as a raider even. Like, I'm going to be a raider bot. I'm going to kill people. I'm going to have a huge bounty on my head. I'm going to create myself a giant base full of death traps for people to try and kill me. If that's fun for them, great. Like, that's content. But I think what they're trying to get around is people just mindlessly killing other people just for the lulz, right? And so they've turned that into content. So these people are now labeled murderers. Everyone can see where they are on the map, and they have this giant bounty on their head. And they also said that there are features that if you get killed by somebody, because if they continue to attack you and chase you down, they can kill you and, you know, steal stuff from your body. If that does happen and you don't want to be part of that content, you can just like hit a button and like switch servers to just like leave. Like, I don't want to deal with this person. I'm out of here. And so that's cool too, because some people are going to want to preserve that single player environment, or just wait for, you know, their friends to come online or whatever. So some really cool features, and I'm really looking forward to it. It sounds like they've thought it through, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay, that sounds amazing. I'm glad that you relayed that. I did not hear any of that. But
I broke it down.
No, you did. You broke it down, and it sounds very reasonable. If it can be like laid out correctly and everything, that can make for some fun gameplay, depending on what kind of player you are. And it gives the opposing person a chance to stay away from situations that can feel like that negative that field. So I'm glad that they're doing something, and I'm glad that they have taken the time to work on something.
Yeah, they're not trying to shut down the people that want to play like that. They're saying, fine, if you want to play like that, that's great. There are going to be repercussions. And if you get someone on your map who's going around killing everybody and they've got a huge bounty, go up to other people, say, hey, you want to team up? You want to go get rid of this guy? We'll split the loot, you know? Like, this guy's a problem. Let's get rid of him, you know? And that's fun. That's gameplay, and that's using the community. That's playing with the community. You know, that's not playing against the community. It's playing with the community, and that's awesome.
Here's a thought. I want you to. Here's a thought.
Yeah.
What if Bethesda? Because this is something that Destiny does. What are they called? They're called Crucible hunts. So they get a member from the streaming community. So it doesn't have to be a streamer. It can be a member of the Bethesda team. What if they did small events where a small group of the 4 people from Bethesda will be these raiders, and they would give people time to hunt them for rare loot?
That would be amazing. That would be awesome. I would be there on the forum, on Reddit, on wherever, saying, you know, when is this happening? I'm making the time to check this out. Like, even to watch that, because you would think that they would be totally geared out, high level characters, and to just watch that go down, even if you don't participate, would be amazing.
And you can see multiple people like working on teams and trying to figure out. And it doesn't have to be just one team. It would be like an event for a weekend or something like that, which they would say at this time slot this is happening, and then the next one's happening this. So it'll give multiple people something. So having these mechanics can get a lot of things, and it just doesn't even have to be Bethesda. It can be other content creators saying, like, we're going to be doing this Raider event for our viewers and our audience. Like, if you want to join us, here's the time. So you'd say, hey, we're gonna, you know, here's our friends list or whatever. Here's how you jump on our server, and we're going to be role playing the Save Point Raiders. The Save Point Podcast Raiders, you know, and come and try and kill us. And we've got, you know, A, B, C, D loot,
And the first 4 people that kill us, they get these items. Let's have fun. 8:00 Friday night or whatever. Like that's awesome. That's really cool.
So there you see that alone gives content, and it's not even content that like Bethesda specifically made. It's just something like I randomly just thought up right now. But it's something that can be created, and that's what's great. The other thing I wanted to talk about was how they're going to be doing our skills / specials a little bit.
Perks.
Yeah. That I was wondering about that a little bit, because we hardly got anything during the E3 conference, but they expanded a little bit on it recently. I'm guessing they talked about it during the conference you saw, and they did a little bit in the trailer. So thoughts on that?
Yeah, the perks. I mean, it's a really good way to do it because so for people that don't know, when you level up in the game, you'll get these perks that you assign to your various stats. So there's the special stats: strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck. Spells out special. And then, like, say you have a lot of strength, then you take these perks that might say requires 3 strength, and then it's something cool that happens in the game. And they have expanded that system to like they call them Pert Cards. Like you get these little packs of cards that you open digitally, and if they print those cards for real, I'm gonna have to buy all of them. I'm sorry, that's money that I'm gonna have to spend. And so there's these loadouts. So they're like, okay, if you want to be more like a sniper character, then maybe use these 5 cards. If you want to be, a more of a bartender or something, or a cook or whatever, like use these perk cards instead. And so it allows you to kind of switch up your build on the fly, and it gives you like a vast amount of diversity for how you can build out your character. And then when you group up with somebody, you can share your cards back and forth. So it's like, all right, we're going to put on our, extra damage ones, and you put on extra health. And then like it'll share in our group, like the perks will share back and forth, something like that. Either the effect of the perk shares, or you can share the cards themselves. I forget which way it works. It might be that you just share the card.
I think actually, if I remember listening, there was someone who was explaining. I think there's a charisma perk that you're able to give cards to other people. Besides, there are some cards that give like team buffs.
Okay.
But there are some. I think your charisma has to be at a high enough, and you have to have the right card to be able to trade like specific cards.
That makes sense, because charisma as a stat in like an MMO environment doesn't make a lot of sense, because you as the player are the charisma. You are the person talking. Where in an RPG, it's a stat, right? It's like, okay, which dialogue tree am I going to go down because I'm more charismatic? So it makes sense that they would tweak that in the game to be like, okay, how does my character, share with other people? Well, the better your charisma stat, the better you can share things. That makes total sense.
So yeah, that's a good way to like soften like these ways to share weapons, share. Just so you don't give one person all the best stuff immediately, and just, or vice versa, just take stuff. You're giving like you said, you're giving the person the ability to customize your player the way you want it to be in a various way. And I'm happy, and I'm glad. And what's great is that it's just if it does well, this is just the start. The game can expand and be even more so later on.
Oh, yeah. Like they could, if they figure out, okay, people are enjoying our game and they're playing it in this certain way, then they can build out extra perk cards for that kind of gameplay. Or if there's something unbalanced, like say for whatever reason, sniper rifles are like super unbalanced, like after 6 months into the game, they can introduce perk cards that will like counteract that, or they could tweak the existing ones and change them around, or whatever. And they've said like they're going to be supporting this game for a long time. They've got a bunch of stuff that's going to be coming out. This was in the NoClip documentary, the making of Fallout 76. Do you watch any of the NoClip stuff?
No, I have not. I'm going to look that up when. So okay, what is it? Just NoClip.
Just NoClip. So NoClip is crowd-funded video game documentaries. You can find them on YouTube. That's mainly where the stuff comes out. They did they recently did 2 documentaries, one on Bethesda themselves, just like the history of Bethesda. Very, very interesting, especially if you've played like Oblivion and Skyrim and Fallout and all their games. It's really, really interesting. And then after E3, they came out with the making of Fallout 76. And there is a ton of footage. They go through a bunch of stuff in the game, stuff that they've got planned, and like their project roadmap, isn't official, but they've said that they have like, I think it was big updates quarterly with like 2 mini updates between. So like they've got this planned out for a couple of years. It sounds like supporting this game, tweaking it, updating it, adding things, changing things. It sounds like they're doing it right. They're not an indie developer that says, "Hey, let's make this crazy thing where people can build stuff and curse at each other and draw swastikas everywhere." Like, no, this is how does a big budget studio do that type of game? And they've decided to do it with Fallout, and I cannot be happier.
Yes, I'm there with you. One last thing I would like to add, mostly with these Pert Cards, is if you can correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm right, you will not be able to purchase any of these Pert Cards. It's all in game, so there is no pay to win in this game, as far as we know it. That if I'm right, I am extremely happy. It's not going to be one of these games where someone throws down $500 and gets all the best perks, and you're just being slaughtered out in the wasteland. Or well, it's more beautiful than the wasteland, but you know what I mean. That's one thing that can ruin any game, is these pay to win aspects. And if I'm right, these perk cards are going to be one of the big things that are going to decide how a player is going to be played, and how it's going to affect not only them but the people around them. And not being pay to win sounds great to me as a big bonus on top of that.
Yeah, I'm sure they were looking at this going like, we could monetize this very easily. And they certainly could. They could say like, hey, $5, you get a pack of Pert Cards, and we've got thousands of cards available, so pay up, suckers. Like they could have done that, but instead they're saying like, no, you after level, I think it's level 5, you start getting these packs, and there's 5 cards in there, and it was like something like 3 of them you can use, 1 of them is like at your level, and then 1 of them is at a level beyond yours, so you have something to look forward to. And you collect these cards that's what it was every level up to level 5, either 5 or 10, you get one every level, then after that it's every other level you get a pack of cards. So it slows down the higher level you get. So they want to give you a ton of cards at the beginning so you can figure out what kind of play style you like, and then later on, it kind of changes up.
Okay.
But yeah, it could have been super easy for them to say, to monetize that and say, oh, perk packs, $5 a pack. There's 3 cards in a pack. Let's go. How much money are you willing to spend? But they have to monetize this somehow. Like they don't have to, but they have a lot. They're not a company that's struggling. They have a lot of money. They've got a lot of projects going. One of their most profitable games, I think, I heard somewhere, was Fallout Shelter, because it's not necessarily play to win, but it's pay for lots of content.
Because there's no quote unquote winning that game. It's just surviving.
It's pay to survive longer before restarting, and it's a very casual game, and it's not obtrusive. Like I've bought a couple of things in that game just to like see what it was all about, but I've never felt like, oh, this game is just dragging, like, oh, I just want to buy this thing just to hurry up. Like they don't do that with the game at all. It's more like, oh, hey, every now and then we reward you with like these crazy weapons, or if you want to be rewarded right now, I guess, like give us some money and you could get that reward right away, but you'll get it eventually anyway, and it's not really going to be game changing, so it's up to you. Like they went about it in a very casual way of like, it's really up to you. Like the game is here, the game is solid. If you want to spend some money, like we're not going to say no, so sure, give us some money. So if Fallout 76 is a good game, and if it's something where it's like, this is so great. I want all the content. And if they came out with some kind of, instead of like a paid expansion pack, instead like paid events, like say 6 months down the line, they're like, hey, new DLC coming out. It's free. It's a new location. There's new enemies. There's new weapons. Look at all this cool stuff. And it's completely free. And you go, awesome. They go, also, there is a quest that you have to pay $2 for. I'm like, well, why? Like, because at the end of the quest, you're going to be rewarded with 500 perk packs, something ridiculous. So it's like, okay, so they're selling me the perk packs kind of, but it's this quest I don't have to do, and I still have this whole other world. Like, that was kind of a bad example, but there are ways they could monetize it later that as long as there's a core good game, I would buy it. Like, I've bought every single piece of Bethesda official DLC that they've ever given, from all the DLC from Fallout 3, all the stuff from New Vegas, which is still kind of Bethesda, and Fallout 4. Every bit of DLC, I'm like, yes, buy it. Thank you. Here's more of my money. You guys keep making games. This is awesome. So if they do that with 76, and part of it is like, hey, if you buy our DLC, which we're kind of giving out for free, but there's a part of it, there's like an extra part where maybe if you pay in, then you'll get some extra perk packs or something. Like, sure, I'd throw $5 at them for that. Why not? That's fine. I don't feel bad at all giving money to games and developers where I love their content, because all it's doing is saying, thank you. Please, can I have some more content? It's
exactly. Yeah, no, I understand. And I know for anyone listening, it might sound like we're trying to soften this idea of what someone might listen and hear as a pay to win. We're not saying that. We're saying we're trying to pay for more content. We're trying to support them to help them continue supporting the game so we can have fun. And the example you said, I was kind of relating in my head. It is kind of a wonky example, but like, you're right. That example you give, you're giving them a chance to accomplish a quest. You don't have to do it. It might be difficult, but besides that quest, you're giving them free content around it. So that's all we're saying, is that we want to continue to support Bethesda and have them continue supporting the game if it's good. And I had a thought. Dang, I had a thought. I lost it. I honestly lost it.
It happens, man. It happens.
It happens. But anyways, that's what we're just saying. We want to continue supporting a game that is good, and we're looking forward to it. Oh, here's my thought. And there is going to be we know it, and that's how the industry is at the moment. There is going to be some in-game purchase. We don't know what it is, but it's probably going to be cosmetics or something, right? Something along those lines.
Yeah, so that's what they've done in the past. Yeah.
At that point, I'm pretty fine with that. So honestly, we have to just wait and see what that is, and but I'm still looking forward to it, because so far what they've given us, we can't really complain too much about that. We can nitpick, yes, but everything else has been good and reasonable. So yeah.
And people that sit around and complain about these games too much, it's like, just don't play it then. There are thousands of games out there. Like, why are you causing this toxicity in my fun zone? Like, get out of here. What are you doing? I don't need this. Ignore. You hit that ignore button, and then you don't worry about it anymore.
Exactly. So to kind of close this off, because we could probably continue talking Fallout forever.
Oh, for hours.
Yes. We actually have, but to close it off, as you said, and I've seen, is you're a big Fallout player and fan.
Yeah.
And looking towards the future and how you've been playing before, and you've played multiple builds. What do you feel your first build is going to be around? And are you gonna make a couple characters be specific build, kind of like an RP role playing style of game? Because I have two in mind for me. Well, and I'll share those at the end of this.
Yeah. So typically in a Fallout game, I'll go for a a well, it depends on the game. So I like to do lots of crafting. So I'll go like a craft centric person, which usually means higher intelligence. I'll go for handguns. I like handguns more than like sniper rifles or even some of the energy weapons. Like I'll go for like pistols, or I mean sometimes like laser pistols and stuff. But for whatever reason I like revolvers and pistols and stuff. So I'll do that. In the past I've always gone like charismatic, and that's because of dialogue options. I like to talk my way through stuff instead of fighting all the time, because I think that's more interesting and it's kind of funny. Like I want to hear the funny dialogue and stuff. But because this is going to be a different kind of Fallout, and there's not going to be, or at least I'm guessing there's not going to be giant dialogue trees with NPCs, since it's just going to be other people and 13-year-olds screaming at me the whole time. So I might shy away from the charisma build, and maybe, I mean, I might go sniper instead and just kind of go into like perception and endurance and that kind of thing. I do like crafting though, so probably still high intelligence, or whatever the associated skill is for this game, which it's usually intelligence, maybe some agility. There might be some agility in there. I usually don't do too much with luck, because it seems like I'll do a luck build sometimes, like in a later playthrough, just to see what happens, because it can be kind of funny sometimes. And sometimes luck, if you go pure luck build, it can be, I don't know, quote unquote easy, because you get a lot of money because you just happen to find extra money and stuff. Not to say it's a cakewalk or anything, but it's quite different. So I don't know. I'll just have to see like the economy of the game and how things go. All of the stats now, instead of maxing out at 10, max out at 15. So it kind of gives you a lot of time and a lot of room to kind of switch your build around. So I'm going to go for a crafting gunslinger is what I'm going for the first time around.
All right. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
All right. So the way I see it, and this is how I usually do when I'm doing any kind of team gameplay or games that you can be with partnered. So I usually think of two characters, is like the solo character, who, if I'm by myself, this is the build I'm going to go with, and then kind of the team player.
Okay.
So the team player, I'm going to probably end up being the tanky medic. So I'm going to do whatever stats are going to be there. So I'm going to be there throwing meds at you. I'm just going to be like be in the background. If they get close, I'll probably end up having a shotgun. While you guys do all the damage, I'll be in the back trying to make sure that we're not getting ambushed and making sure you guys are on point on health.
That's cool.
And making
right
sure.
On.
So that's gonna be my team build. My solo build is it's funny that you mention it. It's gonna literally be every bit of luck I can find in this game.
That's awesome.
So I'll be. So I'm like, honestly, I just like the randomness of some of the stuff that can. And since it is a multiplayer, we don't know what the luck build will bring upon. So I can't rely on the mysterious man coming to save me every time.
Mysterious Stranger is a perk.
Is it? Oh God, yeah. I need him. Thank you. He must save my ass. He's gonna have to save my ass every single time I do something stupid. Then
I'm sure they'll just like spawn somebody in a trench coat that'll run up and shoot whoever you're shooting at a couple times and disappear like always. But yeah, that perk, I saw that perk. It's in there, Mysterious Stranger.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Bethesda, for answering my prayers. So I'm gonna have that. If there's a maxed out version of that card, I'm gonna get it. So that's gonna be my solo one. It's going to be a luck build, and then kind of work around and see what I'm good with that. But that's
what they haven't announced yet. Sorry to interrupt, but I just thought of it. They haven't announced yet if there are going to be like NPC buddies, like pets and stuff like that. I don't think. So like I could easily see them maybe in an expansion later on or something, like, because in every Fallout game, there's been the option to have a follower that is a dog.
Yeah,
I mean, dog meat, or in New Vegas it was Rex. But yeah, like to add that to the game, but to have it be like a variety, like a huge variety of pets, that, you know, dogs and cats and like weird mutated rats and like all this nonsense.
Oh,
And
okay.
then
Sorry. I'll ask this at the end. Sorry.
and then like maybe the highest tier of mysterious stranger is you get him to just follow you around like a pet. That would be awesome.
That would also be creepy, but I'll accept it either way.
He just doesn't talk. He just stares at you and then shoots your enemies. Like, you're
Like,
very mysterious, stranger.
and he just there, like, okay, thank you, and you just walk. Oh god, it's creepy, but you love him anyways.
Yep.
But I was gonna end with that, but there is one thing I wanted to mention that you mentioned mutated creatures. They did say that there are gonna be these strange mutations your character can develop.
Yeah.
And I almost forgot and glossed over that. And they didn't. Did they mention anything during the conference about anything specific about that?
They weren't too specific other than to say that a lot of times, or the majority of them are like passive bonuses and the opposite of bonuses, whatever that word is.
Debuffs?
Debuffs. Like you might have one that gives you like extra hard skin, but like your total hit points are lower or something. Like higher AC but lower hit point. You know, like there'll be a plus and a minus to the mutation. And then they said that a few of them, which they were very cagey on this, so I'm sure they're still developing it, or they haven't nailed down which ones they're using or not using, but some of them will be like physical changes to your character. And like one of them on the perk, and not on the perk card, it wasn't a perk, but they showed some kind of mutation thing, but it was like an arm coming out of someone's chest, right? Like another arm. So we could get like crazy looking mutations like that maybe give you some kind of stat boost, but then you can't wear a piece of armor over that area because nothing fits, you know, like maybe you get a third arm, and this is just me guessing, like maybe you grow a third arm and it looks funny, it's coming out of your chest, and you can't wear a chest piece, but your strength is automatically +5 because like you have another arm to do stuff with. So, you know, it could be something like that.
Or melee does 50% more damage.
Exactly, yeah. Maybe you can put a knife on it or something and stab people with it. That'd be awesome.
So that just adds another layer to the game, because you're going to be seeing people like hunting for some of these mutations. Like for even though it seems like they're going to be some negative positive to them, you can find a build that's going to work around it. And
oh yeah, like a few months in, people are gonna be like, all right, if you get this mutation and you get these 5 perk cards, then you're min-maxing these 2 stats, and so you're a super ninja. Like, oh, okay, cool. Cool guy. That's awesome.
So it's just, this game's going to be amazing when it comes out, and let's hope Bethesda continues to not only share but just continue their work with it, and I'm looking forward to that.
And they listen to the fans. Every game, they listen to the feedback from the previous game, and they tweak and they adjust, and they want their fans to be happy, which is great. Like they definitely have a very strong vision of what they want, but they understand that it's a give and take. And so if there is some bit of content in there that people don't like, or is being used incorrectly, or is just a bummer and not fun, they'll take it out. They'll change it. They'll say, okay, whoops, we thought that would be fun. Turns out it's not fun. So let's change it and make it fun. And that is a really like positive and healthy attitude to have in a healthy relationship with their fan base, which is amazing. It's utterly amazing.
Nice. All right. I can't wait. And I'm going to be picking it up. I'm going to be picking it up for PC and PS4, since that's where so I can be able to play with you and some of my friends on PS4.
Yeah, I'll be grabbing it for PC. I'm probably not going to grab it for my Xbox, just because I don't really, I don't get the chance to stay up late and play on my Xbox. It's out in the living room and it can be loud and all that. But in my office here, I've got my PC, I've got my headphones, my mic. Oh, it's going to be great.
So anyone listening, look forward to that, because one of us, or if not both of us, are going to be streaming those and catch us. And it's going to be fun, and you're going to be seeing some shenanigans, if not in solo, but in duos or squad with probably the rest of the Save Point podcast. And that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun. until we get like ambushed by like 3 teams for no apparent reason.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
It will happen, but that's gonna be fun. Let's transition over a little bit. So there's actually a few things I wanted to talk about. There's some movies coming out. Since half the year's already over, and we've already bypassed a lot of the summer blockbusters, but there's still a lot of movies yet to come that I want to get your opinion, and some of the trailers as well. So first things first is let's kind of get some of the trailers out of the way, because those are not until like next year. Have you seen the trailer for Shazam?
Yes.
So thoughts?
It's DC trying to be funny, so that's new. Excuse me. I mean, it looks like a fun time. I've never read a Shazam comic book. I don't really know the character too much. Besides, it's a kid, and I think he just says Shazam, and then he kind of turns into this alter ego superhero guy. I think that's the way it works. And
it's yes and no. Just to clarify, it's still him. It's just he's just a different body.
Okay. The body changes.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So you're giving literally powers to a young little boy.
So there's kind of like this like Freaky Friday thing going on where you have a kid in an adult body, which you can have a lot of fun with that. And they haven't done something like that in the superhero genre that I know of, that I can think of off the top of my head. So that's cool. And, DC, they got to lighten up, man. Like they are losing their fans left and right. And so they're trying something new, and that is to be commended. It looks like a fun movie. Since I'm not really like a big fan of that character, I probably, and because I've got 2 kids and it's hard for me to go to the movie theaters anyway, I'll probably wait until it's available, digitally, to rent or whatever, before I actually watch it, unless like it comes out and people just rave reviews, then I'll go and check it out. But so I mean, it looks cool, but I'm not in tickets bought, first person in line. That's not me for that movie. But it looks cool, and I admire what they're doing.
All right, I'll be there day one, and just look forward to my review when that comes out.
Are you a huge Shazam fan? Have you read the comics of that?
I have not read the comics, but I have seen a lot of shorts that he's been in for televisions, and I have watched some YouTube videos kind of relaying some of his stories. Mm-hmm. Fun fact is, I forget what years, but Shazam was actually the best-selling comic book that outbeat Superman at that time. During that time.
Wow, that's awesome.
So that's something that I didn't know. Is like Shazam was really popular, yet in this day and age, a lot of people don't really know a lot about him, because I think Superman has just been that icon, just like Batman has. These two are just these icons that are just relatable and just constant. Yet there was a small section that well, at that time it was like Captain Marvel before they had to get rid of the licensing name.
Yeah.
It was doing better sales than Superman comics at that point. Somewhere out there, it's gonna curse me out, but it's legit facts. There was a time where Shazam was beating Superman.
And when you think about it, and you think about how comics started and how they were these funny books, they were these stories for kids. Like, how great is that? You're a kid and you think, man, if only I had like this magic word to say, and then I could turn into a superhero too. These are the kinds of adventures I would go on. Like, that's really cool. That's amazing. That makes sense that like a kid could relate to that better than they could relate to, I'm an alien from another world that came down to this planet and was raised by people in Kansas, and now I wear glasses and people have no idea who I am. Like it's a very relatable character to kids, and comics over the years have slowly gone like way far away from being for kids to being, for teens, for adults, for everybody. And so I could see that type of escapism of wishing, saying a magic word and turning into something else. Like that has gone by the wayside. But I could definitely see like in the 50s, 60s, something like that character being like top selling. Sure, makes total sense to me.
So there's a fun fact, guys.
Cool.
All right, next trailer. We'll stay in the DC realm because that's right now. It's now the what is it? The world of DC. I think that's what they're officially calling it now.
Oh, really? They came up with a thing, huh?
Yeah, I believe it's the world of DC.
Okay.
So Aquaman.
Mm-hmm.
Trailer. Initial thoughts, and maybe some thoughts of what you thought of him in some of his prior appearances.
Okay, so he was in Justice League. And let's see the trailer. I mean, I was thoroughly unimpressed. It looks like more of the DC stuff that we've seen already, just underwater instead. And unfortunately, I don't know a whole lot about Aquaman, besides, you can talk to fish. What I do know, the animated stuff, the Justice League cartoon, I watched that quite a bit in my younger days, and I didn't have a problem with Aquaman at all. I thought it was fine. Like, he's kind of been this like punching bag character for a long time. Like, oh, you talk to fish, but like, that character can be treated with respect and can be done well. And so I'm really hoping that this movie does that. They kind of got like, they're kind of doing like underwater Dothraki, which is, like, all right, that's fine, I guess. Warrior guy, kingdom. He doesn't want to sit on the throne, but yet he's going to have to sit on the throne by the end of the movie because that's how the movie's going to go. It doesn't seem to be doing anything new. And I think it's part of this comic book movie culture that we've had for a long time, which I really wished DC would have gone a different way about it. But it's these solo movies to introduce characters. They almost got it right by having Justice League first, and then introducing the other characters in other movies. But it seems like they're just doing an origin story just after the fact instead of moving with the character and evolving with the character. My wish for DC way back when Marvel was first starting was, Marvel was building towards the Avengers, right? Like that was the whole thing from the first Iron Man, like, Nick Fury showing up in a post-credit sequence saying, I want to talk to you about the Avengers initiative, and all the nerds, all their buttholes puckered and went, oh, what? And then, 10 years later, it's insanity. What I wanted DC to do was to say, look, here's Justice League. Here's all of our characters. They've been saving the world for years. And now let's just start making movies. Like, we don't need the origin stories anymore. People know who these characters are. And if they don't know who they are, we've got the internet. It's super easy now to figure out who these people are. Back when this stuff started, way back in the X-Men days, I'd have friends be like, oh, I saw that X-Men movie. Can you explain who these characters are? I thought they were really cool. And since I was the local alpha nerd, like I could say, oh, well, Cyclops, his vision, and I could talk about all that nonsense. But at this point, like if someone says, hey, that movie looks cool, and they see it and they go, what's this Aquaman guy all about? They can pull out the thing in their pocket that has all of Earth's collected data in it somehow, press a couple of buttons and learn everything they want about those characters. We don't need a movie saying, let me hold your hand. These are who these characters are. These are their friends. These are their enemies. Here's a simple story about one bad guy who's going to die at the end, and we're not going to have to deal with him anymore. We don't need that anymore. And they still are like shoehorning this in. And I really wish that DC would have made a strong stance and said, look, people know who Superman are. People know who Batman is. People know who Wonder Woman is. The Flash, Green Lantern, people know who these characters are. We, like the current group of 18 to 35-year-olds, the target demographic, grew up with these characters as cartoons on TV. We know who these people are. We've seen them. We've seen the comics. We get it. We get it enough to enjoy a movie. So let's not play stupid and hold our hands and go through everything. No, let them be what they are, and let's not take 10 years to get there like Marvel did. Marvel broke ground with what they did, and that was amazing. But it's time to move beyond that. So the Aquaman trailer was fine.
Basically, yeah, okay. So let's boil it down.
Yeah, it was fine. It looks like standard DC action movie that's kind of dark. I bet you all the funny parts in the trailer were the only funny parts in the movie, and we'll see how it is.
So we'll wait and see. That one I might hold out on. That's not going to be my go-to.
Yeah, I'll wait till that's available to watch in the comfort of my own couch with a couple of beers.
So I'll still see it, but it's a maybe out there. I can talk a little bit about that, but let's kind of end that because DC right now is it's a mess, and I am a little sad because they do have two of my favorite heroes of all time, and they did a good job with Superman. Like, a lot of people didn't like this version of Superman, but I actually enjoyed it. Henry Cavill.
Yeah, I mean, Superman is such a difficult character to deal with. How do you tell stories with somebody who is essentially invincible and can beat everybody? How do you put that character into peril? Like, how can you be concerned for that character? And the answer everyone seems to come up with is you make him sad. and he's damaged emotionally because he can lift anything and fly as fast as he wants to, and only a green rock makes him hurt a little bit unless he believes in himself enough. So how do you deal with this character? And for whatever reason, instead of going like fun with it, they go like super depressing with it. And I think that was the problem with the Superman before this. Was it Superman Returns, I think?
Yes. My least favorite version of Superman.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, that was a problem I saw with that movie. That's the same problem I saw with Man of Steel. Not to say that it's bad. It's just that they need to find a way to move beyond that, to evolve beyond. Like, we as a common person know, like, it's okay if Superman is not invincible to everything. Like, you don't have to take his power level past 9,000. Like, it's fine. Let him get hurt. Let him get punched by something and bleed a little bit. That's okay. Like, he doesn't have to be this all-powerful, like, space Jesus. He's just Superman. He's just an alien from another world. Like, he's a little different. He can fly. I always thought it would be cool if they went back to, like, the original concept of, like, he can't fly. He can leap tall buildings in a single bound. He can jump real far. Like, the flying thing didn't come till way later. Like, let's take it back. Just have him jump. Just have him jump a whole bunch. Give me Jumping Man. That'd be fun to watch.
Oh, I think that's Silver. Yeah, Silver Age Superman is that one.
Yeah, Silver Age. Like, they do something like that. That'd be fun.
So, exactly. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm hoping for some fun stuff because right now Marvel is kind of playing with what Doctor Strange can do. They're playing with the ability to do a multiverse where they can give us different versions of the current heroes and give us alternate stories with them with different actors.
Yeah,
that's what's fun. That's what's fun with that, because this is what's fun right now with the comic book movies. Right now, it's for the most part it's kind of formulaic right now, and it's kind of getting stale right now. Like me myself, I've been enjoying all these superhero films, but I'm to a point where now it's kind of hard a little bit to not force myself, but to go see them unless I really want to.
Yeah.
But having the chance to see an Elseworld story told will be amazing, because there are so many fun Elseworld stories. Mostly for me, since Superman is one of my favorite heroes, there's so many different versions of Superman that I would like to see a telling of. I recently saw an animated one of what is it, Justice League, what is it, Gods and Monsters,
Mm-hmm.
and that does a really good retelling of who Superman is. In this version, Superman is actually the. Actually, I told this in a different podcast, but um, he's not the son of. I believe his dad is Jor-El.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's not the son of Jor-El. He's the son of Zod,
Oh, okay.
and yeah, his mother's still the same. I can't remember his mother's name, but it's the DNA comes from Zod, and when he's still sent to Earth, except instead of landing in, I believe, Kansas, he actually ends up near Arizona and is picked up by a migrant family,
Oh, wow.
and he's raised Hispanic. So you have this Hispanic Zod version of Superman.
Wow.
And what's funny is like I would recommend if you can find it, like it's a really good film because it does a retelling of who Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman is. Because this is not your Bruce Wayne billionaire. This is your Bruce Wayne super smart scientist who cursed himself to being a real bat vampire who has to survive off blood.
Wow, that's cool.
You have this Wonder Woman who isn't an Amazonian. She's the daughter of Darkseid, who abandoned her family because of some like horrible incident, and now she's on Earth. And
Wow.
and this Justice League isn't your like nice like law-abiding people. These guys kill people, not bad. They kill bad people for good, but they still kill. Like these are amazing, and honestly, just because I highly recommend anyone listening watch it. It's a fun tale, and these are the kind of stories I want to be able to be told on the big screen. And honestly, it'll be funny to just see a Zod Superman, because in the movie he actually speaks Spanish, and it threw me off. Like I did not think he was going to talk Spanish, and he has like that is hilarious, and like bonus points.
That's amazing.
So I highly recommend if you can find that Justice League Gods and Monsters.
Gods and Monsters. Wow. Okay. Cool. That reminded me of this comic. Well, it reminded me of two different comics that I've read. One was Superman Red Sun.
Ooh, I love that. The one
which,
where he ends up in Russia. Yes.
Yeah. He lands in Soviet Russia and is raised there, and yeah.
Yes, I love it. But
And
tell the people.
Well, I mean, that's it right there. If you've seen what it was in, wasn't it in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice? Is that the whole title? Where Batman has the like the Vision, and he's like in a trench coat and like crazy goggles, and he's underground, and Superman like busts in and like and beats him up, and then he wakes up from the Vision. That was in Batman versus Superman, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
That imagery is from Red Sun, where like Batman is like this. It's not Bruce Wayne. It's somebody else, but it's Batman, and he's like an underground. I don't even remember. It's been so long since I've read that comic, but he was like some kind of underground railroad situation where he's like fighting against this Superman character, and it's been so long since I've read it. I don't even want to talk about it because I'm going to do it injustice. But so that Gods and Monsters reminded me of that. It also reminded me of JLA Earth 2, written by Grant Morrison. Yeah,
Grant Morrison. That sounds familiar.
Is illustrated by Frank Quitely, and let's see. So the Amazon summary of this is: they are the world's gravest supervillains: Ultraman, Owlman, Superwoman, Power Ring, and Johnny Quick, the legendary crime syndicate of America. And it's a mirrored image of what it's if all the JLA people were bad, all the Justice League people were bad. Essentially, and it's really, really interesting. It's a really, really good book. I really love Grant Morrison. He's a great comic book writer. I love his stuff.
And I believe there is a reasonable telling of it. I think in Justice League Unlimited, the TV show, they did a good.
They did a version of it?
They did a version of it. I think it was a 2 or 3 part episode, and I think they did a really suitable good job on it.
Oh, okay, cool, awesome. Yeah,
So
it's very well known. When I was first getting into comics, I was when I was working at that video store that I was talking about. One of the guys I worked with also worked at a comic book shop, and he got me into Grant Morrison. And he was like, "Hey man, do you like Superman and Batman?" I was like, "Oh yeah, they're cool." He's like, "Hey, check out this comic," and he let me borrow it. And I was like, "This is insane." He's like, "Oh yeah." So yeah, it's good stuff.
So I know you're a really busy person these days, taking care of the kids and everything.
Oh yeah.
If and it's hard to kind of sit down and enjoy a movie or comics and stuff. This is how I kind of get all my comic book knowledge. There is a guy on YouTube called the Comic Historian. He lays out different comic series and takes the time and tells them in the tale how they are written in his voice is really good. It gives it that epic feeling of a narrator, and he just explains and tells the tale of that series. So that's how I've been able to get a lot of my comic book knowledge these days, and trying to get some ups when it comes to some of these movies, because they do a good explanation. So I would recommend you check out Comic Historian. He does a really good job of some of the tellings, and he does some of the older works too, because that's what he grew up with, and he likes sharing that with the people. And I'm happy he has, because there's so many tales that I did not know about that I'm glad I watched this video and got to not only see but listen to these stories.
Awesome. Yeah, so, I'm gonna check that out. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, Comic Historian. On top of that, they have a podcast where they do like random stuff too. But yeah, Comic Historian. Cool. Shout out to them.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. Good deal. What were we talking about?
We were talking about movies, but it looks like it's yeah. Let's talk about one more film, because it's kind of getting late.
Sure.
And we still have the closing. Let's kind of finish up, because actually 2 films really quick, because these are like sci-fi, and it kind of blends. One is since this movie's coming out this year, Venom.
Yes,
Venom. And my question is, like, as far as the trailer, it's looking good. And my thoughts and worries is, how can they do a Venom movie without Spider-Man?
That's the question.
So
I'll try to keep it short. The trailer to me looks okay. I'm a fan of Tom Hardy. I think he does really good. He's a really great actor, and so I'm glad they got him. Yeah. His Mad Max was phenomenal, and his Bane, amazing. He just buries himself in these roles. It's great.
He's been doing a really good job.
Yeah, so him as Eddie Brock is interesting, an interesting choice. But yeah, Venom it's weird, because Venom exists because of Spider-Man. So to have a Venom devoid of Spider-Man, it's kind of baffling. It's kind of confusing to somebody who knows the character classically from the comics. And so to me, it's just kind of a big shrug. Like, I don't know. So much of this movie just kind of depends on how they handle that situation. I don't think Venom is a strong enough character on his own, because, I mean, he exists. His powers are the way they are because of Spider-Man. And so if there is no Spider-Man, why is he the way he is? And if they can reasonably answer those questions in the movie and have it still be entertaining, then great. If they can't, if it turns into like a CG action fest, then I would just be totally bummed out, because I really do like Venom as a character, as a foible to Spider-Man, but he's not that. So what is he? We'll see.
Yep. So that one's up in the air. So we're hoping good things, and so far it hasn't been too bad. The only last thing I would like to close it off, I'm hoping and a little anxious for an end credits where we might possibly see Carnage.
I think Carnage is in the movie.
Yes. Okay. I think they have. Yeah. They have. No, actually, no. From what I've been hearing, rumor wise, is that they have. Who's that serial killer?
Cletus Cassidy.
They have the actor. That rumor is they have an actor cast as him.
Yeah,
And
and
but
I there's something too about the symbiotes, and there was some comic story where there's like a bunch of them kind of get together, and so it's like 5 different Venoms, like slightly different colored Venoms that have slightly different powers, and I think the main bad thing that's going to happen in this movie is like Venom against those other Venoms. They'll have different names, different like one-word names, and one of them may be Carnage, but I don't know. I don't know enough about that storyline or enough about the movie to say one way or the other. But that's kind of what I've heard.
okay, so we'll leave it at that
Yeah,
as
we'll see.
guess, and let's see. The last movie I want to and kind of finish with a little sci-fi as the Predator movie coming up.
Yeah, cool.
Like yeah, we've been talking superheroes, but now let's kind of go into just aliens and not aliens, but he technically
I mean, he's an alien.
he is an alien, but because
So
I honestly recently saw the original Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I was like, God, how cheesy and amazing this movie is.
oh, so
But
cheesy and so amazing. Like that is a movie that could only exist in its time. If you were to remake that exact movie right now, nobody would get it. Like it exists in the 1980s. It cannot exist today. Which is, I think, the problem they're going to run into with Predator, is that big, like the action movie of yesteryear, like that movie does not do well anymore. That is a throwaway popcorn flick nowadays. It's not going to withstand the test of time. Like there are moments, there are quotes from Predator that will live on beyond our years. That newer incarnations of these characters or of these classic characters are just it's just not going to be there. It's just not going to happen. With this movie though, like the one thing that I like, which is kind of weird, is the director, Shane Black, and he has done some really cool stuff. Like geez, it's the top of my head. Well, Iron Man 3 for one, the least liked of all the Iron Mans, but also Lethal Weapon, and what was the other one? I'm gonna look him up real quick. Shane
go for it.
Black on Google. I see IMDb. Here we go. And if I could just find where my mouse is, and there we go. Okay, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. That was the other one. That movie's awesome. If you've never heard of it, it's got Val Kilmer and Iron Man. What's his name? Robert Downey Jr. And it's just cool, like crime flick. He also did this other one called The Nice Guys, which has Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling. Also, really good movie. Let's see. It also says known for Predator.
Okay.
Was he in Predator? What was the deal here?
Oh wait,
Why is he
have I seen this
over?
film? I've seen this film. Huh.
Which one?
I completely forgot. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Oh yeah, yeah. What's cool about Shane Black is that usually his movies are set around Christmas time. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, The Nice Guys has a part of Iron Man 3. He just has this thing about like action movies during Christmas. So when a buddy of mine was like, "Hey, did you know they're making a new Predator movie?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, Shane Black's going to direct it." And the first thing I said was, "Well, is it going to be during Christmas? Like, is it going to be the Predator like at the top of a Christmas tree, like snarling at everyone?" Yeah. Anyways, I like him as a director. So to have him in there as a director, I think that's really cool. I'm excited about that. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't think I've watched the latest trailers. I think I watched like the like teaser trailer, like the first one that they put out, but I don't think I've watched any of them since.
Yeah. The recent one kind of gives you an idea what the plot's going to be.
Okay.
So because the teaser one was a little bit more, I would say, suspenseful, and just teasing the Predator, while the second one is more action. You'll see a little bit of plot and understand what's going to be happening with it.
Okay.
So I don't. It's not like I want to give it away and spoil it because the movie's not even out. But depending on your perception, it can be shoot, I'm just gonna give it. There's gonna be like another predator out there hunting the other predator,
Yeah,
and
yeah, it's like Predator
so
versus Predator, kind
so
of.
it,
Yeah,
from what you can decipher from the film, it's gonna end up being the humans helping one predator kill the other predator.
which
So
is, I mean, that gets a big old shrug from me. Like that's not very interesting. That's what they
so
did in Alien versus Predator. Like
yeah.
that's the
So
exact. Yeah. So okay.
so we're just that one. We just have to wait and see as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like you said, they have a good director, and we'll see how that goes. That's something that I've been trying to improve myself. Is like I've been one of those people that just went in to see films just to see films, just to enjoy them, no matter what it was. But within the last couple of years, I've been really trying to understand like who's directing them, a little bit more of the actors, a little bit more on the writers who are writing the actual scripts, to see who's working on the film, to just not going to something knowing that, feeling that it's going to be good, and then saying, why is this shit? Or going into a movie that feels like it's not going to be good, but you can see who's working on it, and you feel that it might become something actually good, and it does. So that's something.
Yeah.
I think that's something even the younger generation should kind of try to see. It's just like get to know not just the A-list actor who's like playing it. Like sometimes they can be acting one of the like worst roles, and just because the way it was edited or directed, like they can be the best actors, but you know the role, like why they take that role, you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There was a point where when I first realized this, when I was working at the video store, where I was like, I'm a fan of Quentin Tarantino. Like, like I had this epiphany one day where it was like, all of these movies that I've seen of his, like the stories are different. They're like different genres almost. Like they're very different, but yet there's something about them that I like. Like, it's because he wrote them and he directed them, and he has a very distinct style. And so, like at this point, if I see, like, it doesn't matter, like his next movie is called like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or something. I have no idea what it's about, and I already know that like I'm gonna go see it because I like him as a director and him as a writer. And so yeah, like as you kind of grow and mature and like find certain things, there are certain actors where I'm like, if I see that actor's in The Thing, whatever movie it is, I'll take a second look at it just because of those actors. Same thing with the director or a writer. Like sometimes the movie could look completely uninteresting, but if I see like, oh, but it was written by so and so, and I like other stuff that they've written, then well, shoot, this is probably good. And it's just the trailer was edited, not for me, but for somebody else, and so yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. And actually, I didn't want to delve into one more topic, but mentioning that your love for Quentin Tarantino, there was a point in my life that I really liked M. Night Shyamalan's films, like
M. Night Shyamalan.
M. Night Shyamalan. Exactly. Like I was really into his films a lot, and
same here. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was right around, I believe, in between Lady in the Water and The Happening, and I was starting to fall off it because he got into that trope. That was his gimmick, and it was just like I just couldn't watch his films anymore.
It was he has the twist, right? Like that was his whole thing and when you first watched like The Sixth Sense, and then the twist happened, and it was like it blew everyone's mind because it was so well hidden and yet right in front of you the entire time. It was like, how could I have missed that? And then he did The Village, I want to say, which again had a twist, but at that point people knew who they were seeing and they were looking for the twist. That's a little bit harder to do. And then Signs.
Signs.
And for me, Signs was Signs, I had a really great experience at the theater with Signs. Like the group of people I was with and the environment, like the whole crowd was way into it, and it was like an amazing experience. Then when I watched it again, when it was out on video, I was like, oh, this movie isn't as good as I remember. Like there were too many like breakdowns in logic. Like why would the aliens that are deathly allergic to water come to a planet where 70% of everything is water? Like they came down to Death Planet. Like, why would they do that? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So, so stuff like that. And then, see, Lady in the Water, I thought was good because it wasn't his typical movie with a twist. It was a fairy tale. And
Yes.
yeah, when you look at that movie as it's a fairy tale, it suddenly like opens up your eyes to like, oh, that's what this movie's trying to say. And unfortunately, at that point, he was so pigeonholed as like the guy with a twist that people went into that movie going, okay, let's find out what the twist is. But like, that wasn't the point anymore. And so that was a bummer. And I never saw The Happening. All I ever heard about that movie was that it was completely terrible. So I never saw that.
Be happy you never wasted your life with them. I can tell you exactly what happened.
Well, was it like plants are trying to kill us or something? Like,
yeah, it's a plant. The plants are trying to kill us. That was stupid. Yeah. Waste of my life.
That sounds like a cool like Twilight Zone episode, but not.
Yes. The idea is good, but extended too long.
Okay.
And then he did Avatar: The Last Airbender, and that was a major flop. So.
Oh, we missed one. Unbreakable.
Yes.
Unbreakable was amazing.
Unbreakable was amazing. The reason I was gonna close with Unbreakable is because now that Split was out, and that was a twist on its own.
Now wait, because I haven't seen Split yet. I'm still waiting to see that one.
You have to see it. You have to see it because of Glass, man.
Because of Glass, I know. Like that.
Okay.
Split came out, and I was like, "This looks interesting." Oh, it was M. Night Shyamalan. Okay, well, I'll wait till it's on video then to see it. So I waited, and then it came out like, oh, Mr. Glass, and oh, there's going to be a thing, and I was like, "What? They're bringing back Unbreakable stuff?" Okay, I got to see this movie, and it just has not been available for me. So I'm waiting for the chance for it to show up on Netflix or Hulu or HBO, one of the several streaming things that I have. As soon as it pops up on one of them, I'm going to watch it.
So the only thing I will say for Split is acting was top notch. I was amazed by. Damn, I can't remember his name right now at the top of my head because I'm
McAvoy, James McAvoy.
Yes,
is it James?
James. He did a fantastic job. I believed every moment. It was a wonderful film. It was edited really nicely. I just had a time of my life. Now, awesome. Just to when they announced that teaser, like I don't want to spoil it, but everyone knows what's happened when they secretly announced it. I honestly, when I went in, I didn't know anything. So when it showed Bruce Willis, I literally screamed in the theaters, and everyone was looking at me, and I was like pointing at the screen, and everyone was looking at, what is that? I'll explain it to you guys later. And I think there was one other person out there who looked at me, and I looked at him, and we knew.
Yeah.
And it's that moment, and
that unbreakable moment.
Literally, let's just close with that because and we can go on talking about a lot of things, but we can do that for another episode.
Sure.
When you find some time.
Between feedings and diaper changes and everything else I'm doing, yeah.
Yep. Basically life in general. So let's close this off and kind of move towards the closing. If you remember, I sent you a video explaining how it works. Mm-hmm. So, if possible, I would like you to share a story with me and the audience of one of the most craziest, strangest, most convoluted, like, what the fuck moment thing you have ever seen, done, or encountered in your life to this point.
Okay, so when this question was posed to me, there was one thing that popped into my head immediately, and I wouldn't call it convoluted, but it was very, like, at the time it was very strange and exciting. So this happened way back when I was in high school. And when I was in high school, It was before the laws changed, and I was able to get my license at like 15, I think. I had my license. And so not 15, was it 16? I don't remember. I had my license before anybody else, was the point. And so between my group of friends, I was the person that on a Friday night, I'd go around to everyone's house, pick everyone up. We'd go out, do shenanigans, and then I'd go around and drop everyone off and come home super late. And my parents would be like, "Where have you been?" I'm like, I had to drop everyone off. It's all good. So I was the taxi. So one night, and this is late at night. This is like, I don't know, 10 or 11 at night. I've got 5 people in my car, and this is a 1986 Mercury Topaz, which is like a what was there was a Ford version that looks just like it. Ford Tempo? No, that doesn't matter. But I was in this Mercury Topaz, and we're this is I was cruising along in my hometown, kind of a smaller. I don't care. I'll say it. Santa Maria, California. I don't live there anymore, but that was my hometown. And we're cruising along, and everyone's talking, everyone's being loud, the music's on, the whole deal. It's 5 teenagers in a car. And I was going like all the way across town. I think I was going to start dropping people off for the night, something like that. And the first person's house was like the farthest away, and then I'd work my way back. So I was cruising out, and there's this long stretch of highway that, I mean, it's not even a highway. It's a like a main street that turns into a highway eventually, and in between, then like kind of there's these really long blocks with these stoplights. So I'm cruising along, and then a buddy of mine in the back seat goes, "It's red," and I'm not paying attention to him, and I'm talking with everyone else, and the music is on, and he goes, it's red," and I didn't know, but I was coming up to an intersection, and it was a red light, and I was just like, oh, like. I started to hit the brakes. I was going too fast. I was like, there's no way I'm going to make this to be able to stop. I looked around. There were no cars around me. There was no cars like driving. It was like we were alone on this road. So I hit the brakes, but then like when I realized like I'd have to slam on the brakes and like skid, and we go halfway in the intersection anyway, I thought, split-second decision. I'm just going to go through the red light. So I go through the red light. Immediately afterwards, cop car behind me, lights are on, sirens going, and I was just like, no, like there was nobody around, like what happened? And so I start panicking, right? Because I'd never been pulled over before at this point. I started panicking and freaking out. Everyone in the car is like, oh no. So I pull over to the side of the road as you're supposed to, and I pull over, and then another car drives by, and then the cop car drives by behind them. We were being followed by somebody with their headlights off, and then the cop was following behind them. Yeah. So when we went through the red light and I hit the brakes, like I didn't know that there were 2 cars behind me. Like the car behind me must have had its lights off because I didn't see it, and the cop car must have been following either with its lights off as well, or just close enough to that other car that I couldn't see the lights. And so I pulled over. The 2 cars went by me, and they like kind of kept going, and everybody in the car was like, keep going, turn. So everyone's yelling at me to just go, and like, just go. Like, all right. So I take off, and they like kept going, and I made a turn off to a side street, and like made a couple of turns, and then stopped in a parking lot, and everyone just like, we just looked at each other like, what was that about? It was the weirdest thing that had ever happened. Have no idea what it was about. Never saw anything on the news or whatever. I think it was just some creepy dude or person or something that was just following us to like, I don't know, like to see what we were doing or whatever. And we just got super lucky that there was a cop behind them to keep us safe. I think that's what it was. Maybe something else was going on. I don't know. I have no idea what it was, but that was just a huge, just like what the fuck moment that has no explanation, and it was over as soon as it began. So weird.
That is weird. I'm not gonna lie. That's literally like almost ghost level shit.
Like, yeah, like if I had said like, and then the car that went by was the same car as mine, and we were dead the whole time.
Wow,
yeah.
that is a tale to behold. Wow, that in itself can be very scary. Wow, mostly at that young of age.
Oh
like,
yeah,
damn.
where just to see the cop car lights behind you just is instant adrenaline and fear, just like, whoa, no, what's gonna happen, and
Then
you're a
just throw
kid,
something.
and yeah, like
Oh,
I pulled over just thinking like, this is it, like my parents aren't gonna let me drive the car anymore, like I'm gonna get in trouble, like luckily like all of my friends were like, nobody was doing anything illegal, right? We just had a bunch of people in the car and we're like being loud and being teenagers, but like we didn't have any drugs, nobody was drinking, like nothing like that was happening. It was just a car full of teenagers just being teenagers, so I was like, oh well, at least like we weren't really doing anything wrong, all I did was run a red light, but then it'll be on my record, and I'm thinking all this stuff in like a split second, and then boom, that other car goes by, like what? Yeah, so weird.
wow, that is weird.
There you go.
Thank you for thank you for sharing that. Wow.
You're welcome.
that gets me. I like hearing stories like that because you never know what someone might share. So
Yeah.
I want to thank you for sharing that with us.
You are very welcome.
So we're gonna move to the game show portion of the game, the ending. So
right.
Me in the future, intro music here. Okay, now. So you have decided to play Would You Rather.
Yeah.
So my version of Would You Rather is split into two sections. So I'm going to give you there are going to be two stages. So stage one. Okay. Let's see here. And you gave me your number. So let's get started. So I'm going to give you your first situation.
Okay.
So, the first situation, would you rather demolish an entire house with a tiny 3-inch hammer, or whenever you go outside, you always have to be on a leash? Now, tell me the thought process and let me know your answer.
Can I question, or is it?
No, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
No, you can ask me a couple questions.
So, does somebody have to be holding the other end of the?
Help. Technically no. You just got to be wearing it.
Okay, and where does the leash have to be attached to me?
Your neck.
Okay, it has to be on the neck. All right.
I would say think your standard dog collar.
Standard dog collar
leash.
with leash. Now, okay.
Yeah.
And then so demolishing a house, like to what extent does it have to be demolished?
So I would say think of your standard like 1,000-foot square house to complete demolish. So all the way from top to bottom.
So the only thing that's left is like rubble and
foundation,
something like that.
Yes. And
wow,
to kind of continue a little bit to understand the demolishing part, you can't do anything else until you finish destroying said house. You can sleep and eat, but you have to finish demolishing this house.
I have to okay, so I can't be like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, and then like every year do like one wall.
Yeah, no, you have to. It has to be done.
Okay, when I start it, and then I have to go until it's done. Okay.
Yes. Well, the other one's a lifetime.
The other one's a lifetime. I'm gonna go with wearing a leash, for a lifetime, because my thought process here, I was gonna go house, but then I thought, that's gonna take a long time, because with a 3-inch hammer, like that I think would literally take years of my life of only doing that, because that little hammer cannot do much. And I'm gonna have to just go on a limb there and say it must be some kind of Thor-like Mjolnir hammer, because that thing would break a little 3-inch hammer would break within the first 20 minutes of trying to demolish a wall. So I'm gonna say leash forever, and I'm gonna pull it off as saying it's a bold fashion statement, and if anyone questions me, then I'll look at them dead in the eye and say it's a fetish, and then walk away, and it'll be fine.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
There it is.
That is your choice. All right.
Did I win?
So,
did I win?
You won in someone's eyes. So let's move to the second and last stage then.
Okay.
All right. So this one. So would you rather have chopsticks for all your fingers?
Okay.
Or go through the TSA line before you have to use the restroom?
Oh man.
So you can ask any questions you like.
So is the TSA line like in my house, or
no?
do I have to?
So anytime you're gonna have. So for that one, I kind of elaborated that anytime you're gonna have to go flying and you go through a TSA line, like you're gonna just for some reason need to use the restroom. Always.
Oh, so when you're going through a TSA line, like the whole time you're like, oh, I really gotta pee, like the whole time you're in the line?
Yes.
Is that okay? So I was imagining like I'm sitting here in my house going like, oh, I gotta pee, and I have to get up, show my ID to a guy. They're gonna pat me down. I have to take off my shoes. I have to go through an X-ray machine, and then I have to go to the bathroom. Like that's what I was thinking.
I was thinking that too, but I'm not that cruel of a person, as far as you know.
I was like, that's okay, because I'll just strip down naked and go ahead, guys, I'm going to the bathroom. look at everything. No bombs here. Okay, so you feel like you have to go to the bathroom every time you go through a TSA line, or have chopsticks for fingers?
Yes.
Okay, 100% I'm going with have to go to the bathroom through a TSA line. Chopsticks for fingers, like that would be like really good when I'm gonna go out and like eat some sushi, but like for everything else in my life, that would be awful. Like, typing, driving, going to the bathroom, like there are so many things that would just be awful for. The only time it would be cool would be like, I don't know, like Halloween, and I could tape scissors to them, and be like, I'm Edward Scissorhands, or something. Yeah, I don't know.
You're gonna be Steven Chopsticks Fingers.
Steven Chopsticks Fingers. Like nobody wants to be that guy. On the other hand, I have been known to be able to hold the urge to go to the bathroom for very long periods of time, and I'm pretty sure that I have gone through a TSA line while having the feeling that I really have to go to the bathroom the entire time. And so I've done it. I've done that challenge. I don't fly very often. That's the other thing. I'm not a very frequent flyer. Maybe like once a year I might get on a plane, maybe. So I think I could handle that. I'll go with that one. Gotta pee in the TSA line.
There you go. So as long as they don't need to do a cavity check on you, you'll be fine.
Hey man, do the cavity check, whatever. Like it's their fault. Like I need to look in your ass. Like there's stuff in there. It's not what you want, but it's there. Go ahead and take a look.
All right then. And that is Would You Rather with Steve.
Everyone's now a little bit dumber for hearing that. I'm sorry, everyone.
Don't worry, because they can learn something new, a little bit interesting when listening to your podcast. So go ahead and shill your stuff and let them know where they can find you and where they can find your stuff.
Sure, yeah. You can find me on Twitter at SteveZer0. Go ahead and tweet whatever you want at me there. You can find me on my 2 podcasts. So one of them, you can go to sciencefactionpodcast.com, and we're also on iTunes and Stitcher. The other one is the Save Point Podcast, and Podbean, I think that one's on, is the main way. We don't really have like a central website yet. But we have a Discord server, so come to our Discord. We have a Twitter, which is at the Save Point. I think.
Yes.
What is that? Is that what it is?
I think it's the Save Point Podcast.
It's Save Point Podcast. Okay, I am terrible at. I've got so many things to remember now that I have to write them all down. I'm getting old.
I recommend a Word document and just have it ready. That's how I have everything. Like Twitter,
Yeah.
here we go. Everything.
Yeah, I really should.
Yeah.
So, and also check out all the podcasts on my podcast network, BS what is it? bspodcastnetwork.com. There it is, bspodcastnetwork.com. Come check us out. There's lots of good stuff on there. There's something for everyone. New content daily except the weekends, because I don't want to post things on the weekend, so I don't. So Monday through Friday, new content every single day.
Smart man, enjoying the weekend for yourself and your family. And I'll have all the links down in the description below. And thank you, Steve, for taking the time to chat and play some games with me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. This has been a lot of fun. We have to do it again sometime.
We will find time. And until then, everyone, thank you for listening. Later. Bye.
Bye.